Welcome to our podcast series where we conduct thought-provoking and inspiring interviews with bold and passionate women who are shaping the workplace of tomorrow. Randstad Canada is proud to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of its Women Transforming the Workplace program, aimed at helping women navigate the ever-evolving world of work. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, my name is Brooke Cromar from Randstad Canada, and I'm joined today by Isabelle Hudon, the new President and CEO of BDC. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you, Brooke. Pleasure to be with you.
I'd like to start on a positive note.
I hope so.
You've done so much in the last 10 years, and I'd love to know what you think has changed for the better for women in that time.
Well. Let's be positive. I do believe, Brooke, that I have to say, before being positive, I'll be realist. I think that the pandemic, we took a huge hit and a bigger hit than men during the pandemic for different reasons. And I don't think that I have to explain and go back on this. That being said, a positive collateral of the pandemic is that we have seen more women visible and heard and at the forefront of managing the crisis. And I've invited myself to pause and to reflect on this. When I was in my previous role as ambassador, I was in France. And as you would probably remember, Brooke, few newspapers and magazines have titled some of their editions on the fact that countries being led by women are doing better with the pandemic because there's a female leader. And you know what, Brooke, like as much as I was proud to see such a title, I did ask myself, like, is it a too easy statement? And I digged into some data to find out that true that those countries did better at certain moment of the crisis, but not only because there was one woman leading the country, but because it was a female leader. Her team and leadership team was well more diverse with more women around the table, but not only more women, but more diversity. And it goes back to the point that I make and that I've been making for the last 20 years, that the richness of a team is the diversity of a team in gender, but also in expertise.
Absolutely. And that is so important. And it's interesting that you mention not just women leadership, but also the diversity, because that's something that's so important at the moment, especially looking to the things that corporates can do and that companies can do. Are there concrete steps that can be taken to accelerate implementation of diversity programs or ensuring greater diversity within companies?
Before I go and answer specifically your question, I want to say that I make a difference between diversity and parity, or gender parity. Gender parity is about giving half of the population the same rights, the same opportunities than the other half has, the other half being men and the first half being women. Population is composed of 51% of women. Diversity is to give a loud voice and a highly visible place to minorities. So not that one is more important than the other one, but I see it as linked but different at the same time.
Sure.
What can organizations do to address this? First of all, it needs to come from the top. And I'm not saying that bottom up is not important, but you know very well that to operate change, it needs to come from the top. So the conversation needs to be owned by the leadership of each organization, co-owned by everyone. But it needs to be highly visible, heard, and understood that it's a top priority for the leader of the organization, first. Second, I'm one that believes that we need to goals. We need to publicly disclose those goals. If we're capable of putting upfront financial goals for our organizations. I think that we're very much capable of showing goals that we have to get to parity, to get to more diversity into the organization, because what gets measured gets done.
Absolutely. I really love that point about from the top and leadership. Your leadership style has been described as transparent and honest, ambitious. Is this the leadership of the future, in particular for women?
Well, I think that it's the leadership of this specific moment and going forward and onward. But I've been in leadership position for the last 25 years, and I've always been the same. I think that the difference, Brooke, is that over the last 25 years, it was more noticed, and I was a little bit more alone into my camp with that transparency and non-conventional approach. I think that more and more it's a little bit more usual. And honestly, Brooke, I don't calculate how I deliver my leadership. I do to others what I like to receive. I've never been happy in a very structured hierarchy. I go to the knowledge and the skills, and I don't go to the title. And also, I'm highly impatient, and I do believe that it's one of my strengths, Brooke. And being impatient, when you manage it well, it does create like a dynamic where you say out loud in a very respectful way, but you say out loud what you think. I'm not afraid of being afraid. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So my level of curiosity is always very high. And I think that's why some people are saying that I'm highly transparent. I say out loud, like I ask questions out loud, and I'm not afraid to ask highly complex questions and very easy ones too.
Amazing. I wanted to talk to you today about youth and how young women can really take the next steps to put themselves forward. I think some of those leadership points that you've raised really speak to that. We could talk about entrepreneurship. There are a lot of women who are looking to get out on their own, to make a mark in the world, but are hesitant to take that leap. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I'm one that believes that women are as ambitious as men, but also less confident than men. So my first piece of advice would be invest on a daily basis in your confidence. Confidence, confidence, confidence. Then there's few skills that you have to keep on working, and it's an ongoing, never-ending journey. Invest in skills such as negotiation, risk-taking, and influence. And I say that like I did not learn this at university, Brooke, and it's not like the perfect equation, but I've been looking around and also looking at myself as a leader for the last 25 years. And without those skills, it's quite difficult to go up the ladder. You need those skills and on top of many others, but those three ones, well, first of all, confidence. Don't let anyone choose for you and tell you what you should do and what you should not do. But learn how to negotiate, learn to appreciate risks, to be just a little bit less risk adverse, and invest in your network and in your influence skills. Because first of all, your network, there's nothing big or small that you can do and deliver alone. There's only a few things that you can do alone. Like taking care of yourself is something that you need to be able to do by yourself. But like when we think of projects and big ambitions that we have for our organization, it's pretty rare that you can deliver by yourself. So you need to be well surrounded, and you have also, you need a superpower network in which you can go and dig for advice, help, and support. My other piece of advice, Brooke, is too often women, we feel that it's a sign of weakness when we reach out and ask a question or ask for help. Like, get rid of this very bad idea that it's a sign of weakness. it's quite the reverse. It shows a great level of curiosity and active listening.
Absolutely. At the beginning, talking on a positive note, but also on a realistic note. And just to sort of bring it full circle, we did a study at Randstad and found that 1 in 5 employed women actually feel, only 1 in 5 feel that a lot of progress has been made in the last 10 years in achieving gender equality. So as we talk about the leadership skills that are needed, the things, the competencies, what is it that's holding women back from breaking the glass ceiling and allowing them to really feel like a lot of progress has been made?
So I'm not surprised about this result because, I need to share with you a piece of data that is quite depressing. With the pandemic, we've added 35 years to the parity or the gender equality corridor. Already we had 115 years to get there. With the pandemic, in only 1 year, we lost or gained, like depends on which side of the fence you are, but we're now at 150 years to gender equality in only 1 year. So I'm not surprised about this result because, as I said right at the beginning, the pandemic hit us women way much more hard than men, with all responsibilities that we have and the kind of job also that we are in. Piece of advice that I would give women: let's not be discouraged. Like other generations were faced with realities such as this one, and we need to act on this, not only women, but everyone. It's not a woman issue. This is a society issue. And we need to be highly active at every day being there and thinking what we can do differently. And one thing that we can do differently is speak out loud about this inequality. I think that too often we say those things in between ourselves because we're just a little bit worried that it will disturb someone or disrupt a conversation. I know that I can be quite disruptive, but you know what? If no one says it out loud, no one will fully appreciate what is required to change. And often, when we speak out loud, and the trick here is to find the right tone and manner to raise those inequality. But very often, Brooke, I realize that when you raise such a conversation or when you make such conversation a more public one than less, often the big majority of people listening, they are learning. And it's not because they don't want to be part of the conversation. It's not unnatural for many to realize this. We all have unconscious BAs, and often it's difficult to undo those knots if you're not fully aware of those knots.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. You've said in the past, when you are presented with a significant challenge, remember that people have already consulted with you before approaching you. What do you mean by that?
I believe, especially in the sector in which you work, you will probably agree with me that we need more energy and arguments to convince a woman to go for a promotion or a new challenge than a man. Because our first reaction is to try to tick all boxes that we're ready and overly ready to accept a promotion. When men, like, they don't oversell themselves, but when they have 50%, they say, well, I will learn the rest, whereby we aim for perfection. And I often say to women, if someone calls you, like, for example, when they called me for the ambassadorship role, I did not like it was a left field. Like, I never thought that I would be ambassador one day. But when I got the call, I did not ask myself, like, will I be good? Will they like me? Am I fitted for the job? Because I knew very well that they went through all those questions. Without me at the table, they asked questions to many people. I asked myself, am I in for it or not? You need to feel the challenge and be ready for it. So, piece of advice, Brooke, aim for excellence and not perfection. Because when you go for perfection, you turn in circle. tu tournes en rond, en rond, en rond, and nothing will be never totally perfect. So if you wait
Mhm.
for perfection, you'll never do anything. And the other thing also is that perfection drives behaviors that are not so nice, and it makes you a person that digs, and over dig. And so go for excellent.
I love that. I think that that's one of the things that I see a lot. At Randstad, we see a lot when you're talking about going for the full list in the job description. That's definitely great advice to think about what you can learn as you already have done. And also that brings a new skill set to the table, right? Because then you've got room to grow and learn. You're not coming having done the job already. So that's a wonderful point.
It's often a conversation that I have with women being invited to join a board. The piece of advice that I give them is be well informed on what you bring to the table. Because as a board member, you should not have the objective to be able to contribute to all conversations and decisions the same way. Boards are composed of diverse expertise. So know very well what you bring to the table, and first and foremost, contribute on that specific expertise that you bring to the table, and give yourself the time to learn. Like I have a good friend who sits on a chartered bank board of directors, and all banks would say that. And she told me that it takes at least 6 years to bring a board director up to the knowledge to be able to contribute on many decisions. 6 years. But as a woman, we go into a board room and they want to be able to contribute on everything.
Absolutely. And I think that raises an interesting point when we're looking at, I think there's always been this conversation of the qualities that women bring to leadership versus the qualities of men bring to leadership. Perhaps the suggestion is, and I'd love your thought on this, it's not so much about a male-female issue. It's about owning your own knowledge, being willing to learn, being able to see value across gender. What would you say?
Well, one thing is sure is that women are fully contributing when there's the right a minimum number of women around the table. And I think that the key number is at least 3. I've been the only woman around the table. I've never been shy of speaking up, but like, let's not take myself as an example, but usually when you're the only woman around the table, you're kind of shy to bring a total different perspective, not better, not worse, but because we take a different perspective at seeing things. When there's 2 women, one would say, like, what if I share my point of view and the only other woman is not in agreement with me? Will we show up in a bad way? When there's at least 3, Brooke, you say, well, probability is that one will at least agree with me.
Yeah.
So, and again, it doesn't come from any university textbook. So take this more as a thinking, something that I've been watching over the last 20 years. But I'm pretty sure that there's many people that would agree with me. And that is not only linked to how many women around the table. It would probably be the same, like how many immigrants in a room. And
yes, that goes back to there's gender, but there's so many other interconnected diversity and inclusion points that need to come into play there, for sure. We've covered a lot of ground in this conversation. So to wrap up, I just want to give you the chance, if there's one thing that you'd like our list to take away from this discussion, what would it be?
Oh, can I say 3 or maybe 2?
Sure,
but
go ahead.
Well, I'll end how I've started. 1, invest in your confidence, because without confidence, days will be tough and challenges will always look too big. Nourish and invest in your confidence. 2nd, aim for excellence over perfection. And the 3rd one is don't try to please everyone at all times. I think that we have this BA of wanting to please everyone. And I'm not saying, like, don't mind if if people don't like you, but too often we aim to please everyone, and we cannot be everything to everyone. And there's an exercise that I invite everyone to do is, I don't know how many new people you would meet on a weekly basis, but the number is not important. Can be 10, can be 50, can be 25. Let's go with 25 new people a week. Do we like all those 25% that we meet? I've not met yet one person who said yes. So why impose on ourselves to please everyone? And I'm just be ready to have less people in the column that are not aligned to your ideas. You want to have more in favor than the reverse. But the 100% in favor will not happen, especially when you go up the ladder for different good and less good reasons.
Fair enough. Those are wonderful takeaways. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's been such a pleasure, and I really appreciate your expertise, your time, and what you continue to do for women. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Brooke.
Thank you for listening. We hope the insights will help you gain a better understanding of the role women play in changing the workplace and inspire you in your own journey. To find out more about our Women Transforming the Workplace program, visit randstad.ca/women.